welcome, cultists and personas and new people that are joining today. Welcome to the uh, merging of La Orden del Icosaedro Fulgurante and the Shining Icosaedro in Great Order. I am Fulgurante, and we have with us the High Priestess Maratura. Hi, Maratura.
Hey!
And we also have a very, personally for me, very interesting guest today.
Yeah.
We have Ana Silva. Hi, Ana. How are you?
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for accepting, especially because I know you sleep until late, but because it's very, very late for you right now, for her, it's 11 p.m. So for some people, that's like very late. And I really appreciate that you accepted.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Now, so our viewers can understand why we're saying this, can you tell us where are you from?
I come from Portugal, which surprisingly is not part of Spain, despite what Americans might tell you. And yeah, we're basically the most west side country in Europe.
True,
very
true.
small, very small.
Very small.
Yeah, that's true. I remember there was a board game that I completely forgot. It was like the whole Spain was the whole peninsula.
Oh yeah, we're used to that. It is a recurring problem.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for accepting. We are going to talk about a project that she started some time ago. But first, we would like to get to know you a bit. So we know where you're from. What do you do, like, besides playing RPGs?
Okay, so I'm a massive addict to books. I collect books. I am running out of space. Like, as you can see over there are the books that I can no longer fit in my shelves.
Oh.
So I do have a small addiction. I'm sure that I can stop anytime I want. But yes, I also like to play. I do tend to waste a lot of time in MMOs, which means I don't play other games as much as I did. And my Steam account right now has a few hundred games that I haven't played, but I promise I will start tomorrow. So in general, I'm not a very interesting person, other than the fact that if there is an earthquake in Portugal, I will probably die buried by books. That will be how I suspect I will die one day.
I mean, you will be surrounded of what you love, so
yeah,
books and dice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. I can stop anytime I want.
Yeah, I know that feeling. So you mentioned something before we started the live stream that I'm curious about. You mentioned your degree, but could you tell us on what it's your degree?
So my degree is what in Portugal we call modern languages and literatures, which just means I studied English literature, I studied German literature, I also studied some American literature, but that's basically it. As we call here, is a starter pack for McDonald's work, because it's really hard to find a place in teaching in Portugal. So I work in a software company now, because that's really related to my course.
Well, that's interesting. And funny enough, it's not the first time that one of our guests mentioned something similar, that they ended up in a related area that is not the career or related to RPGs. Well, thank you so much. Before we continue with the questions or anything,
have a comment.
Just a quick comment for the chat. She speaks, of course, Portuguese and English, but she also understands Spanish. So if you want to send your comments or your questions on either of those three languages, you can go ahead and do it. And if there are any questions, we can do the translation at some point. But feel free to speak whatever you want to speak on the chat. So could you tell us, how did you get to in touch with the world of RPGs? How you started playing?
So it's a really convoluted way, but the short story is, so when I was a very young teenager, I have my vampire phase where I was absolutely obsessed by anything vampire. And this was obviously at the time, Magic the Gathering was really popular. But I caught people playing a game called Vampire: The Eternal Struggle. And because it was vampires, I was absolutely fascinated. And I wanted to know everything. Like, I think this is when Sabbath War came out. It was like a re-release or something. I don't know. I just became incredibly fascinated. And I was playing it publicly. And one guy just approached me and said, "Oh, wow, is that based off the role-playing games?" And I was going, "What that's a role-playing game. And I said, well, I'll bring you my like he did a quick explanation. I thought that sounded amazing. And he promised me, look, I'll come here like tomorrow or so, and I'll show you my Vampire the Masquerade book. And I was absolutely, oh my God, what's this? This is amazing. This is so much better than card games. Oh my God, this is perfect. I can be a vampire. Oh. So basically that was it. And immediately after, I was on the internet investigating everything I could, trying to find out more and more and more, because this is incredible and I must have. Yes, I must have more. I must know more. And I didn't stop from there, which is interesting because at the time when I was doing this, like this was like 2000s, this was a time where Dungeons and Dragons was not at all popular. So there was a massive group of like Worlds of Darkness was the big game being played at the time. Like third edition of D&D was coming out. It was quite popular, but not the juggernaut it is now. And so the community was very, very small, but there was this massive enthusiasm for Worlds of Darkness. So I started with vampires. Soon after, I was trying mage, changeling. I was absolutely obsessed by changeling. It's my favorite game that I never played because I was the only game master in the country. I literally know no other person in Portugal. I mean, I'm sure I can ask some people to run Changeling for me, but I remember that when I got my hands on Changeling, and this was well past third edition of World of Darkness being out and all that, but Changeling never had a revised edition. It was a second edition. So I was very lucky because I had a friend who owned a game shop, and I just went to his game shop and I went, oh, this sounds amazing. This sounds amazing. And suddenly I was trying all these games in Worlds of Darkness, and then I jumped into others, and I met people who were very big fans of D&D, but old school D&D. So even though third edition was well out, I was playing advanced Dungeons and Dragons with other people. So yeah, this was a bit of a chaos, and because I was very good at finding people and dragging them kicking and screaming to play with me. And then my friends went out, like this was like a pyramid scheme. I just got new people, and then they got new people, and then more people, and suddenly we have 3-4 games going off at the same time in the same area, like in the same location, because there was a very well-placed game shop. I worked there at the time, like I was studying and like doing part-time job. And they have a very nice, quick fast food restaurant upstairs. So everybody just played, got food, come and play again. And you'd have 4, 5, 6 tables of people all together on the evenings playing Worlds of Darkness. And sometimes other games, but so yeah, and that's how I was playing 5 nights a week, different campaigns. That was the life.
Nice. That sounds amazing. It's very interesting. Most of our guests so far either start with World of Darkness or D&D. But besides those two, have you played other systems or games?
Oh God, yes. So the problem I have with having so many books and not having space for them is because RPGs are occupying, like right now, RPGs and books are fighting for space in my shelf. So I am quite fond of some really older systems like Unis system, which is the system of witchcraft, but also Buffy the Vampire Slayer RPG, which is ridiculous better than it has any right to be. It's completely out of print because the Eden Studios, I think one of their founders died early in the 2010s. So they also lost the license of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but it's surprisingly possibly one of the best adaptation. Like whoever was in that team, they did some really amazing work with the system. So I'm incredibly biased towards it. I love it to bits, even if it's not like the best or the most elegant system these days. It is quite similar to Worlds of Darkness, but it's even more streamlined. So I kind of think it's a really good starter system for people that want to try Worlds of Darkness.
Okay.
I'm very, very fond of Legend of the Five Rings, 7C. I'm quite fond of some indie games. Like I have a love-hate relationship with Powered by the Apocalypse.
Why?
Okay, so here's the theory. I'm not sure if you experience any Powered by the Apocalypse games.
Yes, a
Yeah.
few times
Yeah,
we've
yeah.
played.
In my experience, and I've played quite a bit of Powered by the Apocalypse because it's the favorite of several of my friends. It's the game you don't want to play with other players. It's the game you want to play with other game masters. It's a game masters game. If
Okay.
you have a group of game masters at the same table, some taking the role of players and one as the leader, it's perfect. And the problem is, if you don't have the right players, the session will derail and it won't be fun for anyone involved. And I had some very not pleasant experience. Like, people were perfectly fine. Like, no one was evil or mean or anything. It's just like people were not having fun, and that
Right.
really upsets me. And I
Yeah,
could
makes
see
sense.
that the other players, like, I was this as a player because I don't never game mastered a lot of Power of the Apocalypse. I played quite a lot. It's just they were not comfortable with being very aggressive in the sense of being proactive. You have to be very proactive and play off each other and not be shy.
Yeah,
And this is not an easy game for shy people or people
that's
that don't
true.
have. Well, I'm lying because you don't have to be a game master to be a good Power by the Apocalypse player, but you have to have things that are very useful for game masters, which is good improvisational skills and having ton fuck of nerve to just go, no, I'm now going to do this. I'm now going to completely mess with your character and mine and everyone else's, and be able to just torture your character horribly. You kind of have to be really mean to your own characters to make Power by the Apocalypse work really, really well. So you do need a special type of attitude to make it really work.
That's true.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's my advice. If you want to play Power by the Apocalypse, be an asshole to yourself and everyone else. And be very grateful when others are an asshole to you, because that means they like you. Please don't take this advice for relationships. Is that terrible advice for in real world relationships, but very good for Power by the Apocalypse.
They are mentioning here in the chat because some of our viewers agree that they don't really enjoy Power by the Apocalypse, and they mentioned that it is only functional with your personal group, like people you really know.
It's easier, but I have had experience, for example, during COVID. Games Expo UK was running stuff online. They were doing their usual games online. And as a treat, I invited a bunch of my Final Fantasy XIV MMO friends. Hey guys, let's play this game. It was Masks. And we clicked, like, I had never played role plays with them. I knew some of them were role players that were very experienced. I knew a couple of them were not as experienced, but enjoyed it. And we clicked this so well that at the end, the game master came to us and said, guys, can I just run a campaign for you? Because this was so much fun.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
cool.
we did play a very long 1.5 year campaign with this game master from Games Expo UK because it was such fun. But yes, with your own group, it works really well. Either that or you just find people that are very well tuned with what Power by the Apocalypse is, and then it works, but it's rare.
Yeah,
it is rare.
It is.
I had this extraordinary experience, but then for Gen Con, because Gen Con also does online now, it was terrible. People hated it. People were not having fun. I felt so bad for the other players. I just give them hugs and say, look, it's fine. It's like, let me help. But I don't want to be rude. But yeah, I do understand what the chat is saying.
So you mentioned I forgot my question. Never mind. It will come back to me. It was related to what you just mentioned. But oh right. You mentioned that you have mastered a lot of times, that you are the game master usually. So would you consider yourself the eternal DM, or is just because right now you are?
I am way too lazy to be the eternal GM, and I have too much blackmail material on my friends to be the eternal GM. There are certain things I am the eternal GM. Changeling the Dreaming is one of them, because I'm obsessed with it, and that means I am probably one of the people who has bigger knowledge. So people go, yes, that sounds amazing. Now you're going to run it. And I can't really say, no, you run it, because Changeling, like Mage the Ascension, have very, very specific and intricate lore.
Yeah.
I've managed to kind of blag my friends to not have to run Mage the Ascension, but I'm seeing the writing on the wall, and I know sooner or later I'm going to have to run it. But there's like, for example, if there is a game that I become obsessed with and I really like, I know already my friends will refuse to learn it because it will push me to the game master. Like Esoterrorists, which is based off the Gumshoe. It's Pelgrim Press, and it's based off the Gumshoe system. It was have you heard of Ordem Paranormal, the super popular Brazilian game by Selbit?
I think I have.
Yeah, it's a massive streamer in Brazil, and it's actually quite popular in Portugal now. And I know that originally they created their own RPG called Orden Paranormal, which is the name of the show. But originally they were playing both Call of Cthulhu and the Esoterrorists. Like a lot of their lore is basically the Esoterrorists' lore with some adaptations. So they don't basically steal the IP, but it's heavily inspired on it. And I was obsessed with that game. I had all the supplements, I had everything. And my friends went, great, now you're going to run it for us. And I went, yeah, okay, I have to, because I literally realized I have about 2-3 years worth of pre-made adventures that I literally had on a shelf gaining dust that I wouldn't read because, oh, I can't read, someone might one day run it for me. Nope, I ended up running all of the adventures. I think I'm just missing the end of the world scenario, which is World Breaker, but everything else, every single adventure written for Esoterrorists, I ran for my friends because I came to a point where I'm not going to run this, and I can't really accept having years and years these adventures there, hoping a handsome prince or princess will come and rescue me and game master this for me. So it ends up being like that. If I really like a game, I'm going to end up running it because my friends will not touch it. Well, that's the way to make me run something.
They already got the trick. So, and you've mentioned like or I can like read sort of topic or genre that you prefer. Which would you say is your favorite game?
Okay, I refuse to answer that question.
Okay.
I cannot choose. That's it. Because I'm an ADHD goblin. I like different things depending on my mood. Some days I will be all for, yes, dark, drama, tragedy, conspiracies, courtly affairs. The other day I'll be, yes, violence, I must kill things. So I really can't. Like, you can give me a list of genres and I will tell you what is favorite, but even then I don't promise I'll answer because I say, oh yeah, I really like World of Darkness, but then again I love Unisystem so much. So that's a really difficult answer because yeah, I like so many.
As
Okay,
you
yeah,
say,
no
depends on the mood or
I
something.
can't choose. I'm an indecisive idiot.
Yeah. Something in the chat said, oh my god, I feel you. Every month I got a new obsession with the different settings.
You are my spirit animal.
Yeah.
So I am very curious, and I'm sure that the viewers are as well. Now, I understand that this is a difficult question, but how would you describe the scene of tabletop RPGs in Portugal?
Okay, so this is a complicated thing because the new environment changed a lot with the rise of D&D 5th edition. Because before the rise of D&D 5th edition, it was very, very insular. You would have, like, the RPG is something you play with your friends. You don't get strangers at your table, you get friends. If you're not my friend, you're going to become my friend, whether you like it or not. Because
yeah.
And among us, there were some that did want and seek community, but we were more lucky finding it outside in English communities, in Spanish communities, in French communities. You kind of could see which ones were the ones because the older people were, like the previous generation to mine, the people that started playing in the late 80s and 90s, those tended to be more attuned with the French communities. People like me, I was more into the American and English speaking communities because it was easier for me. And then Spanish, because as I said, Legend of the Five Rings kind of lumped Portugal and Spain together. And I got tons of really good friends from Spain because of that. But with the 5th edition, it created a sort of hybrid model, because you still have quite a lot of that. Like my best friend, who is still my best friend and who I met her because of RPG, she still refuses to engage with the community. She gives no shits about community. To her, roleplay is something you do with your friends. She's not in my server. Like, I have the biggest role-playing game server in Portugal. She refuses to be there because she does not care.
Okay.
But at the same time, because of the rise of 5th edition, it brought a ton of attention to community, and now Portugal has a gigantic communal community, as in, there's still these small, tiny islands that don't care about anyone else. And then you have what comes across more like the normal community, that people that do this sort of thing, people doing podcasts, people participating and even doing material for sale, like people who are game designers and publish things.
That's true. Okay, so it's now being more popular because of the D&D boom than before.
Yes, quite a lot. It's just like, it's also an interesting thing, and I'm not here to insult D&D players, because what I'm about to say is going to sound like I'm it, but it's not that. It's that it does seem to be a divide between role players, which are people that just like role play in general and will want to role play anything that you suggest at them, and some of them are really weird things that are very experimental. And then you have D&D players who equate role play with D&D, and some of them are actually not quite aware that role play can be more than D&D. So they just think, like, I've encountered this quite a lot amongst Portuguese communities, that they are very surprised when they found out that other RPGs are actually rules light compared to D&D. And some of them go, oh, I didn't want to try other RPGs because I thought these were as hard in D&D, and I just have a limit of what I can learn and memorize.
Right.
So it does seem to be a bit of like, there isn't a complete mesh of the roleplay community and the D&D community, but we are slowly building bridges and luring, and I keep saying we should just announce D&D and then surprise, you've been tricked, you're going to play a big eye, small mouth, or no, we're going to not play that. I mean, if you like that game, that's fine. But I saw someone mentioning Anima in the chat, and I was going, oh shit, I actually own Anima. Not a lot of. I literally just have the core book. Like, please don't hit me. I just own the core book, and I never actually played it. It's just like it was look very nice.
It was there, and
yes, and when I noticed I had paid for it, and now
and now it's too late. So speaking of buying manuals and all that, is it easy to get your hands on manuals and dice and all that in Portugal, or do you usually order online, for example?
Okay, so now it's much easier because you now have a lot more dedicated shops that you didn't used to have. When I started, I came in already in a very changing, a changing environment. So there was slowly starting to, things online were more accessible, Amazon stuff. But from what I hear from talking to older players, what usually people did was you waited until one of them went abroad to England or France or something. You would tell them, please get me this, 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 and this. And then you'd have people bringing like stuff from abroad. I was very lucky because at the time I started to play, the internet shopping and all those things were on the rise. So a lot of the stuff I did involved I could do it online. And also, about 10 years or so after I started to play, I started to get involved in LARPing. And the LARPing scene in Portugal is very, very small. It's usually just one day LARP. But I made friends in the UK, and I started to run LARP in the UK. So I now visit the UK every few months. So if I want something, I just go, oh yeah, like, for example, I'm going to the UK for a LARP mini event in January. So I'm going, oh yeah, there's a bunch of books I need to pick up from Leisure Games, which is in London. And I'll just get it there. But even then, for people who do not have the access that I have to online or travel or friends from abroad that will send me things, there are already more and more gaming shops, even shops that normally are Magic the Gathering or card or Pokemon game only. They do have small sections of dice, small sections of RPGs. D&D is even in Fnac, which is something only your French viewers will understand, which is this very it's basically a chain store that sells books and movies and games and stuff, and board games became very popular in Portugal, and so you have lots of them in Fnac, and there is a small section of dice and D&D. There's not many other RPGs, but there is, so you are not completely without option.
Okay, well, that is nice. I had the idea that it was similar to what you're saying, but I had no idea, for example, that there were LARP events. I have been trying to look for LARPing and in general RPGs all over the world so we can bring them to the show. So it's good to know that you do have a few events every now and then.
Oh yeah. Unfortunately for me, I don't play as much as I write it, but yes, the one I used to play quite a lot, Stargate UK, which was based off the Stargate show. What I run right now is Death into Darkness, which is a Warhammer 40k based LARP. But I'm not one of the players. I'm one of the writers.
How do you LARP Warhammer?
Okay, so in our game, our players are agents of the Inquisition. So they are basically spies, assassins, all that. Like, we don't have we do have space marines, but when they show up, someone is going to be in a lot of pain because they're usually NPCs. We do not have PC space marines. What we have is normal people with some very nasty skills.
Yeah.
So other than that, it's pretty much players get a mission, they go there, they get told by their superiors, go solve this because this is a problem. And then things go, well, really badly for them because that's how you play Warhammer 40k.
Yeah. That's interesting. It's hard for me to imagine Warhammer in LARP. I mean, now I understand, but since I do have the idea that Warhammer is only like a ton of miniatures and a ton of numbers and a ton of army members, I never thought that was an option. But it's cool.
Yeah. I'm not an expert in 40k. The little I know is from like almost hearing it and by environment acquiring things. But Warhammer, from what I can see, has many facets. It's like you can play the war game where it's Space Marines versus threats, but then you have the game for the rogue traders, which are more like pirates and going into space, like Spelljammer, as in D&D, which is a person and their entourage, and they get into trouble. And then you have the Inquisition, which is you are a secret agent for for a really nasty part of the government, and you go around solving problems to protect humanity, but at the same time you kind of treat humanity really badly because you have no checks on you. The Inquisition really answers to no one. Their job is to just solve threats against humanity no matter what it takes. And that creates more human level conflicts because inquisitorial agents are practically normal humans, and they have to wrestle with the fact that they are doing really nasty, horrible things for the greater good. And that ends up, for example, in the case of Inquisition, it's the main thing that's the main conflict that tends to show up quite a lot.
Wow, I have no idea.
I will send you some pictures of people in costume. Some of them are quite impressive. Like our players like to show up and have some. Sometimes I play NPCs
like the
and
big
you don't.
armor.
Oh, some of them are big armor, but the big armor is more Space Marine. So we do have that, but it's when we want to scare the players. But I have had to spend quite a lot of money to play an NPC to be at the standards of the players because they do not make my life easy.
Of course. How did you start to guide or to write LARP?
A friend blackmailed me.
Okay.
You see, it's karma. I blackmail my friends to do what I want them to do, like run games for me, and then they blackmail me back. So that's literally what happened. A friend of mine, who I really hated, I hated him at the start. Like, we did not get along, and then we become best friends.
Okay.
But he was basically, from what I remember, the original runner of Death Unto Darkness, because this is a fairly old game, decided to retire, and he handed him and a bunch of his friends the game to run.
Oh.
And he asked for my help setting things up, and apparently I was so helpful that for the second event of this reboot, he went, I needed to start writing. Can you help me? Can you write some stuff? And I kept writing and writing and writing. And when I realized I had written most of the script for the
Wow.
event, and then he went, okay, you're now a writer. Do I have a choice in this? No, you don't. So,
I say you are the writer.
pretty much.
I mean, I will keep saying that you're doing something that is amazing and that you like. So the result is the important part. No. Uh-huh.
No, I was going to say, you don't know what LARP is, and the pleasure of LARP until you jump at a player from behind the bush at 2 a.m. and he's so scared he forgets to pull your blows, because in LARPing it's very important to keep safety. So even if a person's weapon is well padded and stuff, if it's thrown, if it's used with enough force, it can hurt someone. And there's nothing like the pleasure of scaring someone so much that they forget to pull the blow and they hit you really hard and you get a really bruised arm.
Oh.
I mean, it was fine. Like I guess like having someone jump from a bush, suddenly it was really scary.
I mean,
no regrets.
That's the important part.
Yeah.
Now, the way that I started to be in contact with Anna, well, I it wasn't Anna at the time, it was the username, but when we started talking, it was because I was looking for other people, especially that spoke either English or Portuguese, that those are the ones that we were inviting to the show. I was looking for someone from another part of the world. And suddenly, the first thing that popped up when I started looking on Google and Facebook and all the websites and everything, the first one and the one that popped up a lot of times was RPG Portugal. And I had no idea what it was until I found the Discord server, the page that got me there. And I started to see that it's, I would consider a very big community. So could you tell us how RPG Portugal was created? When? Why?
Okay, so I would say yes, we're very big for Portugal, because I think we're like 1,000-something players. To other countries that have a lot more people, this would probably not be a lot. Like Portugal has 10 million people, which, if I remember correctly, is like the population of Mexico City. So literally our entire country would fit in your capital.
In our capital, yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, so I have a very old friend. Like I have 2 very old friends. One of them is my friend Ines, who really refuses to engage with the community. She just, RPG is something I play with my friends. And I have my friend Ricardo, and we've been friends because of RPG for years and years and years. And Ricardo and I work in the same company. He's a programmer, I'm a content manager, and we basically were in the office one day, like we got pretty early, there was no one there, it was Valentine's Day, we were getting ready for our anti-Valentine dinner because all 3 of us were going out for dinner together. We always go, it's tradition on Valentine. I don't care if one of us gets married or a girlfriend or something, they're coming as well. That's forever how it's going to go. And we were chatting about Discord because we both were very adept using Discord as our messaging method, because we didn't like Skype anymore, and we're both gamers, so a lot of the communities were now transferring into Discord.
Sure.
And at the time, like the big communities in Portugal were kind of divided amongst Facebook, amongst Google groups that then disappeared. So we're kind of like, we should have a place where people can talk in a much more immediate way. Before Facebook, as far as I know, there had been forums, and the forums were nice and all, but they were still a very slow method of communication between gamers. And I thought, like, it would be nice, but we could just make it. So we created the Discord, like on a whim, because we're going, okay, and what would we use as the symbol? So, okay, we need to use the Portuguese flag, although right now we are in a sort of a different design, but originally it was the Portuguese flag, which is a field of green and a field of red and a yellow dice in the center, because Portugal's flag has an armilless sphere in the center and it's golden. And so, yeah, and it's evocative. And we were so improvising it that we didn't realize we had put the colors upside down, so the banner has the colors in the wrong order. And when we found out, we kind of like it now. Let's just leave it there.
I mean,
it
it's
was
only
just-
a reference.
Yeah, it was just such a spur of the moment that we kind of went, oh yeah, let's do it. We'll probably get a couple of our friends, like let's find the old friends from the forums, because people just fall out of passion from forums, and like this we might be able to keep contact. And we kind of went on a rampage trying to find all of our friends, and then we keep growing. And then COVID hit, and then suddenly we grew a lot, because suddenly people were online all the time, and suddenly we had to go, okay, let's do, people are sad and home, okay, let's do Concordia. That's because originally Concordia was an event that then became a permanent fixture, which was a weekend of running games in the server to try and show people RPGs online. Originally it was going to be CoronaCon, but then we went, that's kind of not a very nice name. Let's not call it that.
Could be problematic, yeah.
Yeah, and suddenly D&D was getting more popular. Critical Role was getting very popular in Portugal. Orden Paranormal was also getting really, really popular. And we keep growing and growing and growing. And suddenly from this small group from this old community, the very few people that had a sort of community RPG sense that weren't just focused on little groups, suddenly we had this really massive community that we had never seen before. And we kind of went, well, how did that happen? We weren't planning on this. We just wanted a place to talk about RPG with our friends. And we kind of went, okay, then what do we do now? Okay, we'll adjust this. We're going to make this a place where people can find other people to play games with. And CoronaCon / ConcordiaCon became a series of tables for people. If they didn't want to go to other servers, they could use our chats and our tables and just play there. And people gave their time to teach new players what is RPG. We have channels dedicated just to new players. So it went from, oh, I just want to talk with my friends about RPG while at work, to, well, I guess we now have responsibilities and have to be adults about this and actually do something good with the power we were given.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, and you kept it. I think that is great. When I entered the Discord community, I wasn't sure on who to contact. I mean, I have to confess, I personally am very bad at Discord. I get lost easily on every community or any channel that I access on Discord. So I sent a general message. I don't know, I don't remember the name of the chat. I think it was general or something like that, or I mean in Portuguese, I guess. And I sent a message.
Entrada, probably. Entrada, I don't know if it's the same word in Spanish. It's entryway. Yes.
Same in Spanish. And I sent a message saying like, hey, I'm looking for whoever is in charge here. I want to invite you guys for an interview. And I got a lot of responses, and it was amazing because I mean, again, I don't use Discord a lot, but in the most of the communities that I have entered, people don't usually respond. The answer usually comes from the moderators or the person in charge. And I got several answers, and a couple of guys that said, hey, I am not a moderator, I'm not like in charge here, but you can reach out to this and that person. And that's how I got the contact for Anna. And I think that your community is it's amazing that they are willing to just say hey and respond. But how do you feel about that community? How would you describe it?
Oh God, we are a bunch of goddamn goblins. It's chaos every time. So we don't you have to be a really bad person for you to get kicked from it. Like, okay, sometimes things get really heated. I had to ban myself once because I told a person to go, I lost my temper and told them to go fuck themselves. And I went, well, this is not acceptable. I'm now going to ban myself for a week. Well, I can't ban myself, but I just won't post in punishment. But it's kind of both really chaotic and really, people do understand that this is not a place or where we are telling them what to be or what to think or what to like. We do not judge people for what they like, no matter how much I complain about D&D and say, oh my God, I hate D&D so much. Like it's a recurring joke. Everyone already knows I don't like D&D. And if I start saying it too much, they will call me out. So it doesn't matter I'm the owner, I will be called out by the normal members, and they are right, because nobody wants to hear me for the 11th time complaining about, yes, we know D&D is focused on combat, thanks.
Yeah.
You're not giving us any news, thanks. So it's both, it's very familiar because our goal is not to have power. I've had people come to me and say, oh, is it okay that I invite these people to come to my server? And I went, yes, of course. Like, we are not the gatekeepers of role play. We are like Tinder. We just want people to mush people together to make them kiss each other and go play games. That's what we want. We don't want to be recognized. We don't want power. We don't want anything. That's, for example, we don't have moderators. We have a team of 7 administrators. They're called the DMs, which doesn't stand for Dungeon Master. It actually stands for Dragões Mestre, so Master Dragons. And we all have one, like, when there are decisions, it's all voted. My vote is the same value as anyone else's. I've been overruled several times, and that kind of works. So sometimes when there is drama is really bad, but in normal, the chaos is controlled enough. And yeah, I want everyone to have a voice. I'm not here to have a cult of personality because I'm not down with that. It's incredibly boring and I can barely manage myself, let alone manage people who want to make me a figure of worship. No, thanks. Sorry, I'm too responsible for that. I'm a terrible adult. I cannot manage personal worship. No, I'm a terrible example. Please do not see me as any example you need to follow. I'm incredibly responsible. So yeah, I think is that it's like more like we are just a community trying to get people together. We're not anything special, just a room of gamers. That's what we are.
Okay, and I have a question because when I first found the server, I'm not sure, but there was a part where someone or something was asking about the location, and I'm not obviously from Portugal, and I was not sure if I was going to be accepted, but I was accepted either way, and everyone answered and everything. So, I mean, the name could. I understand that it was really quickly how you guys planned it, but is there like any limitations considering or related to where you're from?
No. We call it RPG Portugal because it is mostly aimed at Portuguese people, but we don't care. Like, for example, today, remember I asked you to, like, I think originally we were going to run this a couple of hours before, but I did warn you, I'm going to be in a session of Mage. I'm not sure how soon I'll be out of it.
Yeah.
We had an English game master come into our server literally just to run Mage the Ascension for 4 Portuguese people. So
wow.
We don't care. We welcome everyone, like, because this isn't anything special. And you being from out, the only reason why we ask where you're from is because we can give people specific roles that if someone is looking for a group, for example, in Lisbon, we can tag everyone in Lisbon without having to tag everyone in the server and say, hey, people from Lisbon, there is a game tomorrow in this place. If you're available, please contact this person. That's the only reason why we ask. We also do it because we're testing if you're a bot or not, or if you're a person who will kind of participate. Like, you don't have to participate a lot, but if you come into the server and you say nothing and you just stay in a corner and you can't even answer a question that is very simple, where are you from? You're not going to get access to the rest of the server, and eventually you're going to be booted. Like, it's auto boot. We have a bot. The bot was the one that talked to you.
Okay. That makes sense.
And that's it. But we don't care. Like, you can be from deep jungles of Brazil. You can be from America. You totally welcome. We have roles specific for people outside of Portugal or people that only play online. The need for location is exactly so we can match people even more easily or warn people of events happening in their location.
That's nice. That's nice. And actually, what you're mentioning, is my next question. That is, if you guys like coordinate events or organize things, because you all now have the all these people there that want to play and are maybe in the same regions.
Okay, so we try to help them. For example, there is a very, very big role-playing event. I think it's probably one of the few that is called Role Lisboa, which is an event in Lisbon that's dedicated only to roleplay. So it's not what usually used to happen, which was roleplay was attached to board game events, because board games are incredibly popular in Portugal. I don't know how it is in other parts of the world, but Portugal, they are like there's something that transcended gamers. It's now a household thing. It's like people perfectly playing board games with your family. It's something that the normies do. So usually
Wow.
what happened is role-playing games were attached to board games events. But
Okay.
Roll Lisboa is exclusive to RPGs. And what we did is every time, like in the few months leading up to October, which is when the event happens, we have a dedicated announcement channel to them. So
Okay.
the organization has posting access. They can post there everything they want, and it's put in a very I only remember the word in Portuguese, I'm sorry.
Don't worry.
A very open, very specific, very visible location, so everybody can see this is the official channel for Roll Lisboa. All the information will be here and no one else can post, because that way all the information is there compiled for you better use. And we did that for InvictaCon, which InvictaCon is actually a board game and RPG games, but it also has a very strong component of RPG. Invicta is because it's the other name of the city of Porto. So it happens in the north. And so they also could do that. They also have this very, very specific channel just dedicated to their announcements, so everyone knows what's going on. We also cooperate with role player groups like the Grupo de Role Players de Lisboa, which frequently just says, hey guys, this is our next event. Can you please make an event? So we do that. We tag people. We ourselves, some of the organizers are, some of the admins are involved in the organization of some events, but us as a group, really not. We're just here to facilitate other events. Like we could if we wanted, but I think it's just like at this point, we are happy to help others.
Okay. Yeah.
Bring their events.
Right. Okay, that's cool. And for example, if someone from another part of the world had an online event, would that be also an option? Like, hey, guys from RPG Portugal, can you share this?
I think a while ago, I'm not I think I was in England at the time, so I didn't pay a lot of attention because I didn't have a lot of chances to be on the Discord. But I think there was like a major Brazilian online event, and it got quite a lot of advertisement. It got like tags and other things, and people were telling each other. Gen Con online after COVID became much smaller, but in the 2 years that it ran purely online, I was doing a coverage of it. I was putting announcements. I was saying, hey guys, like there's these tables, you might be interested in them. I was doing streaming, so people who couldn't go to Twitch or something could go through my own stream through Discord. So we really don't care. We just want to put people playing together. And even though we're focused more in Portugal, we welcome everyone, because people now online can play, which is great.
That's true. That's true, and that's very nice that you guys are doing that. We in general appreciate every time we encounter a group that does that are dedicated to sharing information, because as you mentioned, the gatekeeping is something common, and a lot of times communities are, I don't know, afraid maybe, or just don't have that interest. And again, I really appreciate it, and I want to thank you for having that intention. I think it's very important. It's partially, or the part of the idea why we invite you, and in general our guests, so people can get to know all the projects around the world.
We're completely in favor of it. I think, now that I think of it, but it's the only project that was like a bit ours, and it was only a bit ours because it was mine and Ricardo. We once came up with the notion of RP Genesis, which was NaNoWriMo style, create an RPG in 7 days. And because it was ours, it got a bit organized also in the server, but I don't think it kind of counts because, as I said, it was just a coincidence that it was the project of me and someone else was also involved in the foundings. That's the closest I can remember. And right now the project is on standby for a couple of years. It'll be next year that will happen again. But that's about it. But yeah, I really am happy to. I just want people to play so they can game master. Oh, sorry, was that out loud? Yeah, that's my dirty secret. I created this community because I want more game masters to game master for me.
And you mentioned something, I mean, I'm sorry, it's not exactly related to the server, but you mentioned something about a few conventions. Could you tell us what events are in Portugal? Because here, for example, in Mexico, we do have a few events,
Yeah.
but we don't
That
really have that
focuses in
many.
RPG games.
Yeah, so most of them are like nerd events where you can find
Yeah.
a little bit of RPG with mainly, I don't know, anime, things like that. And of course, we know of the conventions in the USA. I think it's the one with more fame. But can you tell us of the events that we could find if we ever go to Portugal?
Okay, so my advice, if you want a really big one that has a lot of support from us and is organized by a bunch of friends, is the Rol Lisboa, which happens every year in October. I think it kind of varies. I think they always try to make it the second weekend, but I'm not sure. It's always in October, and that is one. Entry is completely free. And that one is dedicated exclusively to RPGs. They do try to get sponsors from lots of gaming organizations, so they do try to give prizes. Like some of them just give PDFs, but that's fine. I think like Pelgrim Press gave them a bunch of stuff for them to distribute. Evil Hat as well. Sometimes they manage to actually get physical stuff from these sponsors. So it's a quite good one. I am cursed because for some reason or other I can't ever go to it. Like last year I had a LARP event on the exact same day. Other times I was either abroad or sick or something, and I end up never managed to go there. But everyone says it's actually really good, really fun, lots of RPG. So that would be my recommendation. Then you have the big board game events that will, and even some nerd events, exactly like in Mexico, that will have attached role-playing tables. It's usually will be D&D. I'm sorry to tell you, it's not RPG necessarily, it's D&D. And it's not the same thing. D&D is one RPG. Sorry, I know. I can't say this in the Discord, because then they'll say you said that like 100 times. Shut up already. And then the only one I can recommend, there are smaller ones kind of peppered all over the country. Like it's just a bunch of friends go, we'll organize this and we'll have 5 tables with people trying new things, and they'll call it an event, and it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine to have a very tiny event where people are just there to be together with friends and try new RPGs. It doesn't have to be with gifts and prizes and stuff.
True.
It can just be that. The closest one that I know to Rol Lisboa happening in the north happens in Porto. Porto is like the second biggest city in Portugal, and it's called Rol Invicta, but it happened once. I'm still not sure if it will happen this year or if they're doing it like every 2 years. It's organized together with something we have that they don't. We actually, in Porto, we have a role play dedicated association, so it's basically kind of sponsored by the government, and people pay fees to be a member, which means we also can go and vote. So it's a non-profit organization, but they rented this space, so you can go there and rent by a very small fee, like $1, $2, like rent space for you to play. So
That's
they also
nice.
organize it in their space. It's not a gigantic space, but it's kind of cute and like has about 10 tables, so it still allows for some interesting stuff. So that one you kind of would have to know when it's happening to come over, but Rol Lisboa has the advantage of, it always happens in October every year. So those two would be the ones I'd recommend. Yeah. Unless you like board games, and then you have InvictaCon, LadyCon, you have a bunch of those that are really, really board game centric, but will also have an element of RPG.
Well, it's good to know. I mean, I am not going to say that I will be going to Portugal like next month or something like that, but I do plan. I would like to go to those events and get to know the RPG world there. And also our viewers, if you ever have the luck, the chance to be out there around those months, do visit those projects. It sounds nice. It's always good to know. We have, let me find it because I lost it. We have a question in the chat. Okay. Okay, we do have in the chat a few options where they can pay to send some messages,
Yeah.
so I will read it. I already know what it is. There is one of our viewers that he has been, I dare to say, the most loyal one of them all so far. Was already taken. He's always here, and he is now known as the herald of the
Girl of the
crossovers.
crossovers.
You are a good person. Thank you for supporting these wonderful streamers.
Thank you.
thanks.
And he is saying, will there be a crossover or what? We have Brazil, Fobo, and Portugal RPG, and she can be
She can be narrated
challenging finally.
Yeah.
So yeah, the chat has that proposal for you, or I mean, if you want to send someone from RPG Portugal as well.
I am more than happy to do whatever people want me to, as long as it involves RPG, because I love RPG, and just hanging with people and doing RPG related things makes me very happy.
Oh,
So
nice.
I am
Yay.
more than willing to try new things and probably make a fool of myself in the process, but that's half the fun. If you take yourself seriously, you're not having fun.
I agree. And well, there you have it, Buzz. We will work on coordinating that with our Brazilian friends, with the friends for RPG Portugal and the channel. See what happens. So I have a question, and this is because, well, partially because I know some of the viewers will enjoy it, but also because you have mentioned that in the server they are already tired of the conversation, but this would be the first time having this conversation between us. Could you go a little bit on the conflict with D&D? I think we will agree, but I'm curious because it's not often that people don't like it, and I personally have had this discussion with a lot of friends that say, oh no, I love D&D, and myself, I don't love D&D. I have played it, and I think there are a few things that you can enjoy, but if someone asks, for example, if a new person playing role asks me, I will never say start with D&D. So maybe there now is a chance to say what they already know on the server.
Look, first, I have to make a massive disclaimer, which is a good GM can take the worst roleplay system and make it really fun. And I believe that these people who love D&D so passionately, they do it because they had incredible experiences with really good game masters where the system doesn't matter. And I am all for that. I will happily approve of that. And if you're having fun, keep doing it. Don't pay attention to me and my grumbling out the end sacks. I'm just attacking the system. I'm not attacking your fun. You should have fun and ignore me. I am not important. So do you and have lots of fun. That being said, so you know that D&D originally was based off a miniature game, a war game. And the rules that then become the original Dungeons and Dragons and then slowly evolved were still really, really based on that. And that's the DNA D&D brings. It brings combat. And the more stuff it inserts, the more importance, like the more the rules become complex. And I don't have a problem with complex rules. One of my favorite games is actually quite similar to D&D in some aspects, which was the Decipher Lord of the Rings RPG, not the new one. It's a really old one, and I'm incredibly obsessed with. I'm very obsessed with really old RPGs. So, but it's more like, I think that because the lore of D&D is so empty, because D&D itself has no attached lore, you have to go and pick your own lore. And if you want Forgotten Realms, if you want Greyhawk, if you want Ravenloft. And I don't feel a big attachment to it. And I am a chaos goblin. I get bored really easily. And because I think that's also my problem of playing end content in MMOs, where you have these fights that take 20 minutes, but you prepare for it for months and months and months because they're so difficult. And you have to be ready to make a decision in a split second. You have to move between, like, you have a second or less than a second to move and find your new position. Otherwise, everybody dies. And 8 people that were there for 10 minutes basically lose all their work and have to start from zero. I get really bored with D&D battles. And D&D is designed for battles. And that's where it excels.
Yeah, totally.
There is nothing wrong with that. Being like, do something, do it well.
Yeah.
But that's it. It's entirely my opinion. I'm sure lots of people think D&D does battle really well, and I'm not going to argue with them because, again, it's an opinion. The problem is, because they do try to make it balanced, they also make it incredibly boring in some aspects. And for someone like me who is used to every second I'm doing different things, having to roll my dice, declare my action to game master, and now I'm just going twiddle my thumbs, getting distracted, getting bored. Oh, and then bad things happen. Like the time I was so bored that I was playing with a Swiss Army knife, and I cut myself really deeply because I was so I had to interrupt the game and say, hey, sorry guys, I'm really bleeding right now. I need to go to the bathroom because someone else's turn was going on. And obviously I'm not going to resent them for taking forever. And also, and this is now going, like, combat aside, I also have a massive issue with character creation, but that is a
Okay.
complete opinion.
Mhm.
Some people like the focus, the control, like saying, okay, if you are a rogue, if you're a wizard, if you this, if you that, you have your options are immediately narrowed. You can't go anywhere else. And some people really thrive on that. That's totally fine. I
Yeah.
can understand how scary it is for players of D&D suddenly being confronted with Worlds of Darkness that goes, you can play whatever you want. And suddenly you have all these choices, and it's really scary. For some people like me, this is what I want. For some people, like, this is terrifying. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to choose. But in my personal taste, I really, really hate how limited, horribly, horribly limited character creation is in D&D, because you
Yeah.
are your job, and I hate that. I hate that I am defined by my job. What if I don't? What if I want to be this super muscular wizard that just punches people in the face with magic? What if I want to be this rogue who punches people in the face with knives? And to me, that immediately makes me very, very grumpy, especially if. Okay, so this is a very common discussion in the in the RPG Portugal game, Discord, which is, if you're playing D&D, is it your duty to make the best possible character? Because if you don't, you are putting an unfair pressure on the rest of your party. If you say, okay, my cleric has a really low wisdom because he's stupid as a fucking rock, and that's who he is, and he believes in the god of mushrooms or something, and obviously his wisdom is really low. I don't care if I can't heal you, because this is what my character is. And this has created a very interesting discussion. And by interesting, I mean nobody can agree in anything and people just keep arguing in circles. If you kind of don't make the best mechanical possible character for D&D, are you just being awful to your co-players? Are you just disrespecting them because you're going to make the life of the party much, much harder, because you should know what you're going for with D&D. D&D isn't about you making creative, mechanically characters. Your backstory is where your creativity goes, and it affects very little your stats, because your stats should be as best as possible for what is fun for you to play. Because, like, okay, if you're doing a wizard, you're not going to have the same, but you'd only like to play warriors, it's not going to be much fun. But you should. So I'm not taking any sides, because I like the chaos, and I just, depending on the day, I defend either side, and because I like the arguments to continue. But it is a very interesting question, and I can see that a lot of people go, no, I refuse to do that. I want to make my character, even if she's suboptimal, I want to make my characters, I want to make my character, because that's my right. This is D&D. This is not a war game. It might be inspired by war games, but it's not a war game. And then you can kind of understand people saying, but D&D is designed and balanced to handle characters playing at least at a certain quality of skill, because then challenge rating 5 is too high for our party, because our party is not good enough, because someone decided they wanted to play less optimally. So that ends up also being a bit my issue with it, is that, like, when I play D&D, I don't force myself. I automatically do the best possible character I can because it is what's expected of me. But I do resent it because it means whoever does a character like me is going to be having a very, very similar character to mine because otherwise it's not optimized. Kind of resent that. And I kind of resent that the only creativity I can have is in the backstory. I like games that allow me to tell a story through the skills my character have. I like to have a character that I give a bunch of flaws, and the flaws themselves, the problems my character has mechanically tell a story, because that's extra creative for me. But I can see that not to everyone's taste. Some people might want to not do that. Some people might want to separate role play and the gaming aspect of it, and that's perfectly fine. But I will keep complaining about D&D.
I mean, yes, we can all agree that if you are having fun and that's the kind of game you like or whatever, it's okay. It's not going to. I personally, and I understand you as well. And speaking also like the studio, we are never going to close the doors to certain games or dynamics. However, we do all have preference, and I actually agree with what you're saying. Pretty much entirely. Also in the chat, I don't know if you have it there, but a lot of people are saying that they agree with what you're saying. Especially there's something that Heather, he is the creator of the games we are developing, the creative writer here on at the studio, and he mentioned something that is also important for me, that you made the difference clear between system and game. Or what's the name? Setting, gracias.
Yes.
Yeah, and setting, and that's something that most people don't either don't understand or just don't mention, and I think it's very important. So I want to mention that because I think it's basic when discussing RPGs.
Oh,
seeing
absolutely.
that difference.
I have books of Dungeons and Dragons because exclusively of the setting. I will make a very big disclaimer, because in case of people from the Discord see me here, we have several game designers there and they will end me if I don't say this, but it is really important and very nice when the system of the game cooperates with the setting. You have things like Mage the Ascension. Okay, so one of the big themes of Mage the Ascension is, I'm not sure if you're experienced with it, and if I'm acting, oh, you don't know what Mage Ascension is, I'm going to explain. So I'm going to explain
what it is. I haven't played it, so
I will explain this to those who don't know Mage. Those who know, I'm sorry for being incredibly boring, but there is a very interesting theme in Mage, which is pride, and how pride brings fall. Mages, the great enemy of mages is themselves. They are prideful idiots who, because they control creation itself, they change reality with their magic. Because this isn't D&D magic. This is, you literally change reality. They are incredibly prideful, and pride is what destroys them. And being not careful with what you do is the mark of a mage, because when you can control the reality like God, or like any god, you're obviously going to make really bad choices about your life. And there is a mechanic I really love in Mage. And that's why I think, like, you could take Mage and run it in GURPS. There is actually a GURPS version of Mage, and there's also a GURPS version of Vampire.
Really?
Yeah, but they were for 2nd edition, I think. But they do exist. They were licensed. A long time ago, White Wolf did license quite a bit of weird stuff from other companies. I still have, like, Blood Nativity, which was this Atlas Games licensed adventure for Vampire, like old, really, really old, but I like hunted it for years and finally got it. As I was saying, pride is very important for Mage. And there is this really cool mechanic where you don't have to cast a spell immediately. You can take several turns casting a spell. And the longer you cast, the more successes, the more powerful you can make your spell. You can make spells that will just one kill anyone. You can, like killing someone in Mage, killing someone else, it's easy. But the longer you make the spell, the more tests you have to make. And the more likelihood you will fail a test, and the spell will misfire and hit you in the face and probably turn you into a tomato. or something horrible. You'll explode. But that ability of, I can do one more roll, I can push myself. You, the player, are experience pure hubris, pure pride. I want this spell to be even bigger. I can do this incredible spell. I can defeat these 10 assassins with a single fireball. I can do this. And your pride can and will destroy you, because if one of those rolls fails, you get Paradox, which is a magical backlash that will make you, among other things, explode. So the fact that the setting and the system are working together to create this pure tendency to be a fucking prideful idiot that will do stupid things just for the possibility of having more power is pure mage. Mechanics are the story. You are giving a pure role-play experience through the mechanics. And that's why, for me, it's really important when the setting and the system work together. I don't think that D20 from D&D, OGL, could transmit this well the pure chaos that is being a fucking prideful asshole, knowing you might very well explode yourself and still fucking risk it because you want more successes, you want a bigger fireball. So it's really important when they work, because then the amazingness of the setting and the system are elevated. Same thing happens, for example, with Vampire Hunger, where you push yourself further and then you risk becoming hunger and turning on the people you love, losing yourself to the hunger. But at the same time, yes, you can take a really bad system and a really good setting and make it work really well and make it amazing. True. But it's also really nice when you play a really good system that it's easy, that it's comfortable, it's sexy and sly, and you kind of go, oh yeah, this is fun. I get this. It's comfortable. So they are two different things. They are two different aspects. You can have some really amazing settings and a system I just want to set fire to, like D&D. And you can have some really really cool systems that you really like, but then go, oh, I really don't like the setting. I really like this, but I don't. For example, Apocalypse World. I'm a massive fan of Apocalypse World, although I have a love-hate relation with it. I really don't like the setting of Apocalypse World. I hate post-apocalyptic. I hate zombies. I hate anything that's post-apocalyptic. No, but if you give me another system, like I really am fond of Masks, which is powered by the apocalypse, but based off teen superheroes full of drama, which I am there for the drama. I love the drama. So you can play with those two games and with those two elements, but it is very, very important that you get both right, because I mean, yeah, you can take a really good setting and make it work in a bad system. I think the opposite is harder, because you can have the best system in the world, but if it's boring and basic, the setting, it's just not as much fun. But ideally, you want them to be both amazing and work really well together and not just be copy-paste. And that's why I think converting things from one system to the other is not just transferring numbers. It is a work, it demands skill, it demands art. Yeah. It is an art. People who can do conversions from one system to the other and maintain the same themes and the same things that the original design wants. It is things for people who are very, very skilled, and it's more art than work, as far as I'm concerned.
That is true. I completely agree. There's a comment in the chat that I think that I think it's something you would agree with. It says, yes, Mage is an
philosophical,
awesome game as a debating game. Yeah, and I think it's partially what you were mentioning at some point. But yeah, in general, we agree that. Sorry.
No, I say totally agree. Yeah. I was also laughing because I was reading about people suggesting superheroes telenovela. You'd be surprised. First of all, Portugal has tons of telenovelas, to the point that you cannot run from them. It's like at dinner time, you have, we have 4 national channels. You have at least 3 telenovelas per channel. So it's like telenovela everywhere. Oh my God, ugh. There is the people from Magpie Games have a game called Passione de las Pasiones, which is pure telenovela. So if you like that, go play it. I mean, I would probably play it just because
option.
I am a chaos goblin. I will just try anything just to be able to say I tried it.
I mean, yeah, it's important to play several systems and settings and get to know exactly what you want to keep playing.
Yes. I should try new things, even if they sound terrible, they might work out. And if they don't work out, at least you can complain loudly about it constantly, like me and D&D.
Exactly.
Because I've played AD&D 2nd edition. I have 2 school, 3rd, 3.0, 4th, 5th, and I still complain. I will keep playing it so I can complain constantly.
I have more arguments.
Oh yeah, there was Sailor Moon RPG. The weird thing is there's now 2 My Little Pony games. One of them is based off Pathfinder.
Yeah.
The previous one wasn't, and it's actually a really good game. It's like I was really surprised. Now you're going to ask me, why did you buy a My Little Pony game? Because I could. That's why. It was there. I bought it. It's there. It's provocation enough. I will buy the things. But yes, it is really surprising. You will be surprised. Like I wouldn't play that with like other adults, but the system is really solid, especially if you want to run it for children, because it's actually quite complex in a very accessible way. So try things, even things that you think that will be a bad idea, because you might be surprised. That's my advice.
It's a good advice. I think I agree. Because yeah, there have been a few things that someone shows to me and says like, hey, you should try, or maybe we can play this. And at first I'm not sure, but once you're playing it, you can make it work. Especially because that's one of the benefits and wonders of RPGs, right? You adjust and you actually do the acting, so it's in your hands completely.
Yeah, if they drag you into the game, just go full in. Like, oh yeah, you don't like. That's why in D&D I just go full in. I hate D&D. I'm playing now. Well, I'm going to be super D&D at you. I'm going to just enjoy the hell out of this and make terrible decisions with my character. Why? Because I can.
Because this rule here will allow me to.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. I will have lots of fun. I tried to make deals with Strahd when we're playing campaign of Strahd, whatever the Strahd campaign is. I keep forgetting it because it's no longer
the curse.
Oh well, that's it.
Yeah, the curse.
Because this is the second version of the Curse of Strahd I'm playing, because I did play the original 3rd edition. Well, not the original. The original was like 2nd edition, I think. But I did play the 3rd edition when it was out. So I was making all the terrible decisions. I was trying to be Strahd's friend, trying just to get him to do what I wanted. But yes, make terrible decisions. Go full in. Don't be ashamed, or don't be like, okay, I'm playing this, I don't want to. We're fine, you don't want to, but you can play it anyway. Make as much chaos as you can. Part of the fun.
They are asking here in the chat if you have heard of She's the Ancient.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
If you have heard of She is the Ancient.
She's the I don't know. I actually no. I was
it's
going
the
to I heard of one that was She's something, but I don't think it was the She's the Ancient. Please do tell me.
It's the basically the gender bending thing of Curse of Strahd.
Oh yes. Yes. I didn't know that was the name, but I did hear of it. I did. It certainly makes it interesting. That was funny. My game I have massive issues with Strahd. You do not want to get me started on that, because I will go on a goddamn rant about why I have issues with Strahd. But to be fair, like there were bigger issues in the previous editions, because like there was lots of material for it, including the novel where Irene was a 16-year-old, and you see why I have, among other things, they completely changed that. Now she's a proper adult, like they corrected that, but I still have issues with Strahd because he's a goddamn incel. So you will hear me rant about it. But I do think it's really interesting. But my game master, when he was running our Curse of Strahd Chronicle, he also had a few issues, so he did change quite a lot of it, and Strahd was an even more tragic figure. Still a fucking asshole, but still a much more tragic figure. Because in our version, like Tatiana refused to, like, she got infected with the plague. She refused to be turned into a vampire. She died, and Strahd went mad with grief. So because we didn't do the official setting where he's trapped in these shadows, in the shadow realms, where he's basically tortured for all eternity, and the soul of Tatiana, who did nothing wrong, is there being more tortured than him. Excuse me. So that's one of my big problems with the situation, which is Tatiana's soul is fucking being tortured, and the only crime she committed is not being in love with Strahd. So
Yeah.
So in ours, it's just simply our setting is kind of inspired by 17th, 18th century Europe. Well, more like 18th, 19th, because there's some very basic technology. There's trains, and our story starts very much as Murder in the Orient Express.
Oh,
but
cool.
we get stopped in the middle of nowhere, traveling between two distant cities. And the Murder in the Orient Express is actually a vampire attack. And then it escalates. Everyone dies except the players who manage to survive. And they are dropped in the middle of a snowstorm they will not be rescued for weeks because they are in the middle of nowhere, and people, the trains are not very scheduled. So we were left in the entrance of Barovia. And Strahd simply was the lord of that area, and the big empire that was trying to control everything hadn't gotten to Barovia, because Barovia was a shitty backwater, has no items that they could want. Like, Barovia produced nothing, so they we're not going to waste our military going there to invade that place. And that's how we end there. And the story is exactly that. This vampire lord in massive grief, completely abusing his population. That's how our story went. Because clearly I'm not the only one thinking that Tatiana is being punished for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
Sorry, I do tend to ramble a lot, so I'm very, very sorry about this.
No, don't worry. It's actually very
it's
interesting.
yeah.
The part that you mentioned, how you guys started that campaign, I think it's a very good idea, and it's very interesting. Like, combining that option in having the killer be the vampire. It makes sense.
Well, I don't want to put the chat to sleep, as I told you earlier when we were chatting. So chat, if I'm being very boring, just let me know and I'll shut up.
Yeah.
No, don't worry. Actually, I think they're enjoying the conversation.
Yeah.
I haven't read everything, especially because I don't have my glasses, but I've read a couple of times that they are enjoying this. At some point, they demanded we give you a PhD, so I guess they are enjoying the conversation.
Yeah, I would totally take a PhD in a role-playing game. They would be useless for me. I would make no money of it, but hey, I'm used to it. It's it's like my degree all over again. And my master's, because I have a master's in teaching English. So I'm not teaching anyone. I am literally working in a software company.
I mean, playing RPGs kind of goes hand in hand with teaching, especially at some points, especially with new people. So,
oh yeah, and having really weird browser search history. You don't imagine the weird stuff I have searched in my browser, including how to kill people, and not because I was planning on killing people, because I needed to have some information while playing an assassin, and I
you
needed
have
to
to
know
describe it properly.
and also have plans and stuff. And I'm very sure that if the FBI looked at my browser history, they would, and there was once that I got asked to make a supplement for a game. Like, the supplement never came out, ended up not, like, everything fallen and stuff. But I have this massive supplement where I spent weeks researching poison and symptoms and stuff. And I was told me, I hope no one I know dies of poisoning, because I think the police will want to have a conversation with me. Because I literally spent like over a week just reading everything I could about symptoms and how to counter poisons and stuff, so I could just present a list of poisons, present a list of rules to how to handle poisons and stuff like that. That was interesting. Yeah. Yes, the FBI's are learning from me. Yeah, probably. But yeah, it's like being a role player, and I'm sure like the chat and you guys have this experience as well. It's like, you very likely had to learn about really unexpected things just so you could play things that you went, I'm playing, I don't know, a doctor. So I had to investigate a bit about, I don't know. I remember one of my favorite characters was a hacker. I know nothing about programming. Well, I wasn't working at the software company at the time. Now I know a little bit. I just listened to the programmers. But back then I was going like, I know nothing about programming. So I spent hours reading through stuff, trying to, okay, I don't need to be a programmer. I just need to pretend I'm good enough of a program. Like, use the bullshit. And I ended up knowing tons of stuff that were completely useless to me, but it was good at pretending that my character knew what she was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it is more interesting when you are able to actually put yourself in the character, and that goes along with understanding what the hell does that profession mean, right? So
Yeah.
I agree that that's something that we actually also do. Mara has done a lot of research as well for some of the characters and campaigns we've played. So I appreciate the dedication. I agree with it.
Yeah.
Oh no, God, bullshitting is the first thing you learn as a role player. Hiding your sources is the second one, like stealing people's ideas and then pretend, yes, no, I am that cool. I know everything about dressmaking, and I know everything about programming, and I know everything about Peruvian throat singing or something like that. It's like, because in my experience, if you are good at bullshitting, the game master might not make you make as many rolls, and you kind of go, oh yes, I heard this, so my character is doing this. Oh, okay. You're like, oh, obviously this is very easy for your character, so you're not going to roll it.
Yeah, it's kind of the way I of playing that I enjoy most, to be capable to resolve without the without the dice.
Yes. To be honest, it's also because there are exceptions. I don't remember any from the top of my head, but most of the games, you kind of, when you roll the dice, you are removing the flow and you have to step out of your character's head and back into your own. So
Yeah.
I can guess, especially people who really like the aspect of role playing, staying in character, you kind of want to not roll the dice. So I totally agree with you and totally understand. I'm the same.
Yeah. I agree. I also prefer the narrative part of RPGs. And then of course there will be a few times where you have to roll because it's harder to decide. But yeah, the narrating version, I prefer it.
Yeah, and the excitement is always interesting. Like I could go play diceless systems, but I do like the excitement of dice. But when I can blag my way out of it and just get away with murder, it's also very nice. It's also very exciting in a way. So yeah, you kind of balance it. And besides, my game masters mostly just know how it works, so they just go, no, you're going to roll anyway. I'm going, sad. Oh well, at least it was fun role playing, and I looked cool doing it. So win-win.
That's true. Right now the chat is it's wonderful right now. They are sending their examples of what their browsers might look like. Speaking
Yes,
of researching for.
I identify especially with Cthulhu 17. I also have quite a lot of hermetic philosophy because Order of Hermes is my favorite edition in Mage the Ascension because they are the assholes, and I love groups that are defined by their failures instead of how great they are, because everyone else in Mage is great. They are very nice people. They have their flaws, but the Hermetics are the assholes, and I can identify with being defined by your mistakes. I am totally down with being completely horribly flawed. It speaks to my heart. Yes, but the very, very, I don't know how your browsers are, but I'm sure they're also very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Especially if you play very different systems and you change characters a lot.
Yeah, recently we have been trying to change the type of character we're playing. At least I'm trying to modify, because I usually do the same type of character even if it's a different setting. But now I'm trying to use different types of characters and force myself to actually act, not be myself with a different dress. And yeah, I do have to do a lot of research, especially for like the conversations and then the interest of the person that is not like myself.
I ended up learning I now forgot all of it, but I studied Mexico a lot because we're playing at a point a Sabbat campaign set in Mexico City, and I was going, I know nothing about Mexico. I need to investigate.
Yeah.
And I was going, okay. Well, the good thing is all of us were Portuguese, so if anyone was making any mistakes, we kind of would not be able to tell. But it was interesting because I do remember that, and I was going, okay, oh Jesus Christ, Mexico has 10 million people. Oh my God, that's how a single city has the number of people we have. That is terrifying. So yeah.
We are a big country.
And then it caused some interesting. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, sorry. I was going to read a comment, but it's not a question. I thought it was a question.
So then it happens the really interesting things when you kind of fall into conflict with the culture you're playing. And a lot of our games, like my biggest, it lasted 5 years, I think. Biggest Vampire the Masquerade Chronicles, Chicago Chronicles, like the old ones. We ran all of the books. And it lasts for a long time, and we're obviously playing in America. And at a point, our characters had been roped by the prince to become Sabbat hunters, because there is lots of Sabbat there. And we were going into an ambush, and we're kind of going, oh shit, we probably could use weapons, but we can't find weapons. We'll get in trouble if we go buy firearms. We can't get firearms. And like at the end, like a session later went, shit, we're in America. We could just have gone to the supermarket and get weapons. This is not Europe, where you really is against the law to get weapons. And we're going, oh, God damn it, we went there. We play the encounter in hard mode because none of us thought that we're in America. We can just get all the guns we want.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Context is important.
Resolution. Yeah.
So I remember that. Like there's been a couple of ones, but that one is the one I remember most. Like at the end, like next session, oh shit, yeah, we could have gotten the guns. So it's always kind of funny when
the guns and I don't know, some candy bar or something.
Yeah,
just for fun.
No, at least none of us decide to go get drugs because, well, here they're legal. So we kind of would go, oh, yeah, let's go get drugs. Oh, no, wait, we can't. This is America. That would be kind of.
Yeah, they're mentioning in the chat. But if you want good health insurance, then you won't find it.
Yes. No.
Yeah.
No, we won't. There was a similar situation. So this was in my campaign of Esoterists. It was being set in the UK, in London, although they traveled all over. And in Portugal, the notion of a pub is a place where you go after dinner for drinks. But in the UK, it's also very, very commonly a place where you can go have meals. You can have lunch, you can have breakfast, you can have everything there. And there was like this clue. The entire story was very time dependent. So if the players didn't do something until X o'clock, they were going, like some ministers were going to die. And the players went, okay, they had a clue that pointed them toward this pub. And they went, oh yeah, like it's 10 in the morning. We're going to have to wait until like 8 o'clock for it to open. And I was going, at 8 o'clock, like the ministers are going to die at 6 o'clock. What? And I was going, no, guys, this isn't Portugal. In the UK, pubs will be open from the morning. Because I was going, oh my God, what am I going? They're going I'm going to try not to be very obvious that it was important they went to the pub right now, because I didn't want to guide them, but it was important they understood, guys, yeah, the pub's open. It's been open from like 8 o'clock in the morning, so you're fine.
How do I make them go without telling them to go?
Pretty much. That's why I stopped using Game Master characters, because they tended to pay attention to my characters too much, and my characters were terrible at this, because I am quite good at stonewalling. I don't know if you know the term stonewalling. It's so I was very good at stonewalling myself from the information as a game master. So my characters made really terrible decisions, and the players went, if the game master character is saying that, we should do it. And I was going, no, do not listen to the very, very stupid character. Like, just... So I just quit. It's like, it's too much responsibility. I'm not running because to be fair, I only run it because it was 2 people for adventures that were recommended for 3, and I was kind of going, yeah, I'll put my character there. I'll be fine. I will be completely neutral. The problem was the players just thought I was trying. When my character started saying, yes, we should totally go to this place, which is incredibly dodgy and very likely dangerous, they thought, we have to go because the game master is saying,
no,
if she mentioned it, it must be the actual clue.
First of all, I hadn't prepared that section. I was kind of hoping they would be sensible and go, no, that's obviously a trap. And the fact that this very dumb character was suggesting it, I thought they're going, no, let's not go, because clearly it will be a bad idea.
I at first I was just considering it, but now I am 100% sure that we need to have you here again.
Chaos.
We do have a section, another show that is
Oh yeah.
pretty much what we're doing right now, like talking about specific subject and just ranting and discussing our opinions. And it's amazing how much we agree so far. Besides the zombie thing that you mentioned,
sorry, that's a matter of taste. I don't like zombies in general. Like it's a matter. Like I will do vampires. I love vampires, werewolves, wizards, fae, but zombies and post-apocalyptic, no. That's like, I don't even like the movies, so it's not something against the zombie games. It's just zombies in general.
In general,
My
genre.
hatred is spread. My hate is abandoned and spread all over all forms of media involving zombies and post-apocalyptic.
I mean, it's okay. As I mentioned, besides that particular topic, so far, I 100% agree with you with everything that you're saying. So I really think, and also based on the reaction in the chat, I am sure that we need to have you again here soon, if you will accept.
I would love to.
I really appreciate that you accepted this and given us so much time and all your opinions and everything. I really have enjoyed this conversation with you directly. And also I want to like highlight that we really appreciate, the effort of RPG Portugal, especially now that I know that you guys are open to in general other countries, other people, and other activities, not only Portugal. So again, thank you so much for accepting. Thank you so much for the effort that you're doing.
Just a warning, we do tend to speak a lot in Portuguese there. We will default to Portuguese, but if you speak in English, almost everyone will be able to talk back.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Or in Spanish. I'm fairly sure that if you speak Spanish, so there is this horrible thing we say here that Spanish is badly spoken Portuguese. It is a horrible thing to say, and I'm very sorry, but it means also we understand perfectly Spanish. So people getting there and speaking Spanish, perfectly fine. We can understand you.
So people in the chat, if you are interested in going there and talking with people from the other side of the seas, you can go ahead and join the Discord server. As I mentioned, and as she mentioned, they are very what's the word, like loving. They reply fairly quickly despite the time difference and everything. So thank you so much for accepting. Thank you so much, chat, for being here, and the comments and the questions that you have sent. We will consider that the suggestions, chat, everything that you sent that we should do, and the collaborations and the crossovers, we will work on that, I promise. Before we go, if there is any like announcement or something that you would like to do for a personal project, or a project of your server or anything, now would be your chance.
Oh, I am way too chaotic to have proper projects. The only project I was involved with, and every now and then I keep forgetting it exists. It's like I said, RPG Genesis, which is literally create a small RPG from scratch in 7 days. But I think it will only happen next year, because like at that point we were not getting a lot of entries, and we kind of also, it was a bit exhausting to run the event and try to write it, because you are in a very short time. But my project is just try to get people to run games for me. If you want to help me with that project, yes, please, I will definitely be very grateful. If you want to run things for me, I will try anything. I will beta test anything you want. And if you need, I don't know, a player to cause chaos in your party, I am more than willing to come along and just spend a session or two just playing any weird character you'd like me to.
There you go. I know there are a few people in the chat that we're planning on opening some games. Also, we as soon as we open anything else, we will let you know, so you can have the chance to play, and also maybe play our game.
I will definitely play your game if you have me. Just say when.
Perfect. So let's work on that. Thank you so much, chat. Please follow them. Please join their server. Also, please follow us. And before we go, we will be actually you have access to the stream, so you will be able to see it here in the show. We have a way to thank the guests for being here, for giving us their time. It's a symbolic way to say thank you. It's an acknowledgement that we should be able to see on the screen now or in a few seconds. And I will also send it to you directly so you can have it and you can use it however you want to.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. Thank you, guys. You're the best.
Thank you so much, chat. Chat, thank you so much for being here. Remember that in about an hour and 15 minutes, we have next chapter of Balada de Hayasaki with the I wonder setting of the Omnident system. So we will see you guys in about an hour. Thank you so much, Ana. Thank you, Maratura.
Muchas gracias a todos. Ha sido genial. Me ha encantado. Os adoro.
Yeah.
And that was, yes, my Spanish is terrible, but I will understand you. So I will probably just in an hour just stand and hang. It'll be at 2 a.m. Who cares? It's Saturday. I'm not an old lady. I'm not going to bed before 3 or something.
Nice. So if you will be there, let's chat as well. I hope you enjoy it. And again, thank you so much. See you in an hour, and may your checks be always critical.
See you.